AskReddi by Beautiful Shade 9441. You get the opportunity to find out the truth behind one unsolved case. Which are you choosing? This might get lost in the sea of comments, but I wish I could find out what happened to my childhood best friend. She went missing 10 years ago. https://charlieproject.org/case/Chelsea-Lee-Ricker closed bracket, and nothing was discovered about the case since. I wish you all the luck and good fortune in the world on your search for her. Whenever I see these types of AskReddi threads, I'm always reminded how many people have a loved one that has disappeared. It makes me sad to think of all that grief, and the lack of answers may well be haunting. I'm so sorry for your loss. Here's hoping you find her. There was a kid that went missing right around my hometown when I was a kid. Couple years younger than me. It was on the news a bit. It kinda fizzled out and I haven't been able to find anything since. Still see flyers for him now and then. Kyron Horman. I was around the same age as Kyron Horman and I remember watching the news. The most prominent thing that still sticks out to me to this day is how they froze a cake for him, hoping he'd be home for him to blow out his candles and have a slice. I hope there's justice for him one day. For all my French Redditors here, I will say the Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès case, the guy killed all his family and buried them under his concrete deck, before disappearing completely without leaving any traces, and it has been more than 10 years. I honestly think he changed his name, got new documentation and living somewhere without anyone noticing. Gareth Williams, that MI6 guy who was found dead inside a padlocked suitcase. His death was ruled as a self-inflicted accident, and then later some former KGB guy would claim the KGB killed him after failing to convert him to a double agent. The fact that they went with such a sloppy cover-up story makes it so much weirder. Obviously they knew how sloppy it was, and they chose to do that for a reason. They wanted people to be suspicious, I guess, to distract from something they should have been more suspicious of. 2 boys I went to school with were killed in a hit and run by the side of the road while walking home from a party. According to some reports, only one of the boys died from being hit by a car and the other appeared to have been beaten to death. It's been 20 years and no one has ever confessed or offered any information about the case. Are you by chance from Butler, PA? Zodiac Killer. The fucked up thing about that case is we almost had him. He killed a taxi driver, the police came there, but because of reports that a black man had killed the driver, the cops let a suspicious white guy leaving the scene go without questioning him. I heard somewhere that a child saw the suspect and misspoke, referring to a man in shadows as a black man. Asher degree. 9-year-old girl left her house in the middle of the night, while it was storming and cold, with a pre-packed bag of clothes. She had no reason to run away, and had limited computer access. A truck driver said they saw her walking that same early morning on the dark next to the highway, and that she ran into the woods. Over a year later, her backpack was found wrapped in a plastic bag about 26 miles away, which didn't yield any further developments. Why did she leave? Why did she run from the trucker? How did her backpack end up so far away? Is she still alive? Was she met with foul play? Edit. Wow, did not expect this big of a response. Glad to see that she is clearly not forgotten, and hopefully one day the case will be solved. Asher degree is also very high out there on my list. Perhaps because this whole case seemed so bizarre. She must have been either very unlucky to come across a bad person that night, or things were even more sinister. Deleted. I can't even imagine what that does to a parent. Sending your girl to school and never seeing them again. No rhyme, no reason, no definitive answer. Must be one of the most awful things that can happen to a family. Where is Shirley Miscavige? Yes. Personally I think she's been long dead and that her husband killed her. But gosh, it's frustrating that we don't know for sure. Olof Palme, PM of Sweden. I need to read up on this. I visited Lund a while back and there was a guy who walked around wearing a sign and he knew what happened to Olaf Palm or something. Alcatraz escapees. Deleted. If it doesn't have to be a major case, then my friend's murder. He was killed 10 years ago over Thanksgiving weekend, and his case still remains open today. His family deserves to know. Edit. There were so many replies to this comment it'd take me a very long time to respond. I appreciate the kind words and well wishes. For those in a similar situation, I feel for you. Everyone deserves justice and to truly feel peace. I won't be sharing his details here for privacy, but a well-known podcaster actually saw this post and has reached out, so there is a possibility my friend's story will be shared. God, I can't imagine not having that closure. My mom was murdered and the killer was caught within the week. Thank God, but that was the longest week of my life. The pain remains of course, but not knowing the who, what, how would eat me from the inside out. Frankly, I still have a ton of questions as the killer to this day denies it, but at least I had a court case and the overwhelming evidence to go by. All I can do is fill in the blanks, but having nothing. My sympathies to you and your friend's family. I know it's very recent, but the Idaho college murders. The fact these kids were killed while others were in the house is the most befuddling to me. It makes me think of the Wonderland murders, where someone who wasn't targeted was killed just for being there, but the kids in Idaho weren't. It's morbid, but I'm very curious. If you are from Mexico, the Ayotzinapa case where 43 students were taken and murdered, there has never been an official statement from the Mexican government, but it's suspected that the government and the militia were involved in the kidnappings. There's a documentary on Netflix if someone is interested. They recently arrested the mayor and some cops for their roles in the massacre. The boy in the box, especially so because his identity was just told to us today. His full name, which hasn't been known for over 65 years now, is Joseph Augustus Zarelli. His family lived in the same town this entire time. Weird they never looked for him. Internationally, Jack the Ripper. Everyone involved, or who may know something firsthand, is dead. Locally, Alberta, Canada, Amber Takero. Indigenous woman who went missing in 2010. There is a recording of her in the vehicle with the man who likely killed her. It's chilling. Source https://www.voiceasforjusticepodcast.com/post/amber-takaro. I think about that phone call a lot. The fear she must have felt. The kidnapping and murder of my friend Amy Mihaljevic on the 27th of October, 1989. So sorry for you. That was a terrible time to be a kid who watched the news in any Ohio. I can't imagine how awful it must have been to be that close to her and the whole situation. John Bennett. Yeah, I know it's a pretty standard answer, but after seeing her face plastered across every supermarket checkout line tabloid through most of my teenage years, I'm curious to see which theory would be proven right, or whether it's some totally different scenario nobody even thought of. Rebecca Roish. The murders of my best friend, Emily Gores, and her sister Carissa Gores. One of my good friends died in suspicious circumstances. They ruled it a motorbike accident, but her body was found almost a day after she died, off the road. I know it sucks having so many questions. West Memphis 3. Black Dahlia probably. My grandfather was a rookie with LAPD when this happened. He told my mom that even as a rookie he noticed a lot of fuck-ups the police made. No idea if his perspective is true or not, but he had a very what the hell are they doing feeling but couldn't do anything from his position. Just a family myth now. Yogurt shop murders Austin TX. I just read the Wikipedia article, https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki /1991_Austin_yogurt_shop_killings closed bracket about it. Those poor girls, how tragic. Jack the Ripper definitely. Time-traveling serial killer fanatic who wanted to meet Jack the Ripper, ends up being Jack the Ripper. Spoiler alert, he's also the Zodiac Killer. The Unsolved Case of Caylee Anthony. I want to vomit every time I see Casey Anthony's smug, vile face anywhere in the media. My theory is this: Zanny the nanny was actually Xanax to make her pass out. Casey would drug her daughter to go out partying whatever. Casey duct taped her mouth and tied her up in the trunk so she wouldn't escape if she was left home alone or wander looking for Casey. Casey put little heart sticker over the duct tape to feel slightly less guilty about being the devil. Caylee woke up tied up in the trunk and vomited aspirated due to the duct tape and basically drowned. Casey left her in the trunk for a few days while she figured out what to do. Her dad, ex-cop, knew the smell of a dead body, as did her mom. When they mentioned to her they smelt a dead body in the car, she dumped the body where she dumped her childhood pets and was ultimately where Caylee was found. Who started the fire at the old Ames warehouse in Parkersburg, WV on the 21st of October, 2017? All of the plastics inside gave us all even more cancer than we already had after the whole DuPont thing. Watch Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo folks, my town is cursed. Dark Waters is chilling. Very well done. We basically stopped cooking with Teflon pans the day we watched the show. My grandmother's murder. It happened when my mother was really young. Illinois, 1980s. The story goes that my grandmother was in a club. She walks out of the club. Someone kills her. 1 shot in the head, 3 in the chest. No motive, no suspicion. Had problems with my abusive great grandmother. Her sister or cousin was Claudia, I think. If I could find the truth, it would probably bring my mother peace. Damn. Same. My dad believes his mother was murdered in Florida in the 70s. He lived on a houseboat with her and her boyfriend and believed she had a second love interest with ties to the mafia. She was found dead in the water near their dock at a popular marina. Police just said she was an alcoholic and must have stumbled home from the bar and drowned. Nobody heard her struggling. She had defense wounds on her hands, and her purse was in the boat which she never went anywhere without. No investigation was done and everybody involved is most likely dead. Bowman children. Absolutely. The pain their parents must have felt for the rest of their lives would have been insurmountable. I can't imagine. Sneer and Phillip. She was a doctor who disappeared in Lower Manhattan the night before 9/11. Many, including her family, believe she died in the World Trade Center, but she had no reason to be there. Some suspect her brother or husband might be hiding something, which seems likely to me. Our mayor's husband went missing on 9/11 but his office was 8 blocks away. https://www.nightimes.com/2002/005/009/9-1-a--mystery.html. Jennifer Kess. I am not sure why, but this is the one case I haven't been able to stop thinking about for years. The surveillance video of the perp who parked her car drives me insane. Deleted. Deleted. In 1995, 6 teenage boys went missing in my hometown. It was St. Patrick's Day and they had been doing some partying and went down to the local marina and stole a small boat and a water tricycle and went out onto the lake and were never seen again. No trace of any of them was ever found, not even the boat or the water tricycle. No evidence pointed towards it being a runaway situation. The investigation altogether was pretty shit and many have speculated since that the police were involved somehow and there was a cover-up. Edit. Here's a video that sums up the case if anyone is interested. https://yahoo.be /JUZ0050SVWY. Lost Boys of Pickering? DB Cooper. I get why you would say this, but the answer is going to be completely anticlimactic. It will be some guy you have never heard of that jumped out of airplanes in Vietnam or Korea or whatever. It's a lot more fun as a mystery than it would with the actual answer. Brian Schaefer. I work in the building he went missing from. There's enough plumbing issues here. If he were in a wall, some poor plumber would have found him by now. That, along with that whole section of the building having been renovated some time ago. There's a river about 1.5 miles away. I would bet he fell in it and unfortunately got swept away. As much as I'd want to say a case that's more national and worldly, my unsolved case would have to be Amber Hagerman, Amber Alert. My sister and I were both really close childhood friends. Played as kids at each other's houses, birthday parties, etc. Still haunts me to this day. Lizzie Borden. She couldn't have done it, but she had to have done it. I don't believe she did it, but the outlay of the house and the timeline make it very difficult to believe it was an outsider. If it was, they were a smooth criminal to remain in the house for so long after the first murder with mostly locked doors and no real hallways like in modern houses. I gots to know. Deleted. My friends were killed in 2004 in a drive-by. It was a random shooting. They were 14 and 16. No motive, no leads, no clues. Someone just drove up to them while they were getting into a car and asked their names. Then the guy said, "You know what? It doesn't matter." He and the people in his vehicle pulled out guns and unloaded on my friends. My friends died and 2 other kids of similar age were also injured. Deleted. The 1991 disappearance of 4-year-old Michael Dunahy. This one always makes me wonder. Public park, no clues. Scary. My girlfriend's younger brother was kidnapped and murdered when we were freshmen. Years later I mentioned at a family gathering that they still haven't solved the case. My uncle then said, "I will say this once and we will never talk about it again, but the murderer is dead. It has been taken care of." Your uncle took care of your girlfriend's brother's killer? What does your uncle do? Hammondly, because after the spectacle serial made of her murder, her family at least deserves that much. It was good of you to name the victim rather than the alleged murderer. Jimmy Hoffa. My grandpa was working for a scrapyard at the time, and a car came in on a tow truck. He was instructed to not open the trunk and crush the car, then immediately send it to the smelter. To this day he is convinced that Jimmy Hoffa was in that trunk. Jack the Ripper. Even though it will be someone no one has ever heard of, would be fascinating to finally solve it. John Bennett Ramsey or the Robbie Dunbar case. It is confirmed that the child that claimed to be Robbie Dunbar is in fact not Robbie Dunbar, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll ever find out what happened to the real Robbie Dunbar. I think the truly sad thing is that there are so many. The yogurt shop murders. The Springfield 3. Madeleine McCann. Breaks my heart thinking about what could have happened to that poor girl. The woman who died at the Oslo Plaza Hotel on the 3rd of June, 1995. We still don't know who she was. For more information, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Radisson. Is this the one from the new-ish episode of Unsolved Mysteries? The Las Vegas shooter, not much anything on him. I always found it intriguing how terrifying and recent the incident was, yet no one ever talks about it.